Welcome to the Phase 3 Straight Arm Strength Workout for the Foundation Movement System program. In this workout, we're going to start taking it up a notch with your calisthenics training, working towards the tuck planche and the tuck front lever. Now make sure you watch this whole video because you're going to learn everything that you need in order to do this workout at home on your own. All that and more coming up.
We are the gym that teaches people how to move instead of just exercise, because we believe that health is about performance, not just body image.
So the first exercise that we're going to be doing is called the back body line, and the first two exercises that we do in the program are both for the handstand. The way we work the foundation movement system is we do skill training first before strength training. This comes straight after your warm-up, and if you haven't grabbed the mobility mini course, you want to grab that because that's the full warm-up that we recommend doing before these workouts. So for the back body line, Richard is going to grab onto this dowel rod here, and he's going to bring his feet and hands together and lift his shoulders right off the ground, so he's really engaging his abs there. And then he's going to spread his hands and legs apart, just so for a lot of you that'll be it. That's going to be all you can do. And what we're looking for is to make sure that the shoulders don't go down, the abs stay switched on, and your lower back is firmly pressed against the ground. Now Richard's very good at this, so he can go all the way down and he can still maintain his lower back being firmly on the ground. You can rest now for a second, Richard. Now the idea of this is to go as low as you can, but you have to be very, very critical of yourself here, because the cues, Richard, just go back to the first position again, please. So the idea of coming together like this is so that you can feel that your abs are engaged and the lower back pushes firmly on the ground. Now as you slowly separate your hands and feet apart, this shouldn't change. The lower back should stay firmly on the ground, so you can watch as Richard goes down, he doesn't lose that beautiful, what's called a hollow body, with the lower back firmly on the ground, abs engaged, shoulder blades off the ground. So relax now, Richard. And those are the cues that you're looking for. Number one, lower back always firmly on the ground. Number two, feel it in your abs. Now we write in the program up to 60 seconds. That's the goal, not the expectation. Now when I started doing this exercise, and I'd done a lot of core training before this, but when I started doing this, I could barely do it for 20 to 30 seconds, and that was with my hands and legs at an angle like this. Be very critical of yourself. Practice does not make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. It's very important that you understand that principle, and that is the back body line. The next one that we're going to do is called the front body line. Now this exercise is, there's a lot more cues to it than the back body line. The back body line was quite simple. There's a lot to this one. Now we're going to go through it step by step, okay? So the first is we're going to squeeze the heels together. The second one is we're going to straighten the knees. The third, we're going to tense the bum. Next, we're going to suck the stomach in. Now, I should definitely be able to get my fingers under Richard's stomach here. Okay, you can see there's a gap there where I can get my fingers under his stomach. And then next, the nose is touching the mat. And then the last one, the hands are going to lift just about 1 inch off the ground. That's it. That's the front body line there. So again, heels together, bum tense, stomach sucked in, and hands 1 inch off the ground. He's not lifting his bum off the ground. The hips are pushing into the ground and the stomach is sucking in. You can relax now, Richard. So we've just done our workout today, so Richard's already a little bit fatigued, so I promised him that I wouldn't make him do this stuff for too long. So the cues for this are, what's really, really important is when I say suck your stomach in and tense your bum, I'm basically telling you to do this. It's called a posterior pelvic tilt. Don't make the mistake of lifting your bum off the ground. Push your hips into the ground, tense the bum, and suck the stomach in so that you'd be able to get your fingers under there. Now, when you're learning this, you won't even worry about the hands. The only thing you're going to think about is from here down to the feet. So feet together, knees straight, bum tense, stomach sucked in, just like what Richard's doing. And only if you can do all of that and hold it for a prolonged period of time do you then bring your hands about 1 inch off the ground. And hands should be about shoulder width apart. If your hands were beside you and you raised them like that, that's where they would be, okay? And that is the front body line.
The straight arm frog stand. Now, we're starting to get into some of the more, well, it's definitely not advanced calisthenics, but it's moving on a little bit with the program. This movement, a lot of people really struggle with progressing from the bent arm frog stand to the straight arm frog stand. So we're going to break it down and I'm going to show you some really good techniques for how you can get through that, you know, bust through that barrier where you feel like you just can't do it at all. So to start with, I'll get Richard just to demonstrate it. So you can see it's quite a challenging move to get into, and what you're really looking for is, number one is the elbows do not bend at all. Number two is when you're in a squat position like Richard is here, you want to bring your hands a bit forward so that the knees can go right up into the triceps above the elbows. So Richard's got the shape of his body, he can actually go quite high. You don't need to go that high, just go kind of mid tricep, Richie. Yeah, that's fine there. And then from there, you're just going to lean forward, get the weight into the hands, and then slowly, see how his feet just lift off naturally? So that's really, really good. So what you're looking for is, you don't try and lift your feet, the feet will naturally lift off. Like if you do this move properly, when you come forward, if I go forward far enough, eventually my feet just naturally lift off the ground like that, okay? And we're trying to just make sure that those elbows stay completely locked straight when you do it. If it's too hard on the wrists, you can turn the hands out a little bit to a 45-degree angle. Now, as I said before, to go from the bent arm frog stand to this one is quite a big leap for a lot of people. So what do you do if you can barely do it at all? Well, what you're going to really work on is basically just reps. So come down, Richie. You basically get into the position, go forward, hold it for as long as you can. Let's say you can only do it for 3 or 4 seconds, then you go back and do it again. So Richie will get ready, get his knees just above the elbows, come forward, hold it for as long as you can, 1, 2, whatever it is, then come back. Shake your hands, rest for a couple of seconds, go again. And then you'll come back. And you do that basically for enough time that you try to accumulate, for a total time, try to accumulate at least 30 seconds of time in the straight arm frog stand. So if that means you can only do it for 2 seconds at a time and you do 5 reps of 2 seconds, that would give you a total of 10 seconds. And then if you did 3 sets of that, you would have got 30 seconds minimum. That'll be the minimum time that you'd be looking for. And what we're really doing here is we're conditioning the wrists and the arms to take your weight for when you do the tuck planche, which is the next progression from this is the band assisted tuck planche. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the straight arm frog stand. Now we're on to the arch into hang, and for this movement we're progressing from the feet assisted arch into hang. This is another really big leap for a lot of people. So I'll get Richard to demonstrate it first, and you're going to see what somebody who's spent a lot of work developing an upper body physique can achieve. So Richie, let's just have a couple of reps, please. So what we're looking for here is the full-on scapular depression and retraction, which means the scapula is pulling down. Look how he initiates. See that scapula pulling down, and then it retracts as well, pulls back towards the spine, and then we're looking for shoulder extension. Thanks, Richie, just relax. Now, going from the feet assisted arch into hang into that is a hell of a lot of work. It's not going to happen for you. It doesn't matter how much work you've done on that feet assisted arch into hang, what you do is not going to look like that. So we need to have some bridging not exercises, because it is the same exercise, but just an understanding of, you know, what you should be looking for when you do this. So Richie, if you go again. Now, what you're looking for at the basic level, above anything else, is the depression of the scapula, so starting like that. Number 2 is that the scapula retracts and you get a little bit of shoulder extension, just to about there. That's it. So what do you think of to make that happen? 2 things. 3 things actually. Number 1, pull down. Number 2, lift the chest up. Number 3, pull the shoulder blades back into retraction. So watch that again, watch what happens. Number 1, scapula down. Number 2, chest up. Number 3, retraction. So by thinking pull the chest up, it actually helps you to pull your arms down. The last thing that you'd think of is to pull the elbow down to here, okay? So pulling the elbow right down to the ribs whilst keeping the elbow completely straight. This is a straight arm movement. In your straight arm workouts, every single movement that you do, the elbow should be completely locked straight. Even that much bend in the elbow is unacceptable. You have to watch your videos of yourself doing it, and you know, at a really, just jump out of the way, Richie. At a really basic level, you know, when I teach the classes, I just get people to go from here to there, and back. And what you're looking for is just reps. So you're just trying to pull, hold it for a few seconds, and then back down. And you can see what I'm thinking of is shoulders down, chest up, and then shoulders back in together like that. And then over time, as you get better, of course, you're gonna get higher and higher, and you'll be able to pull yourself up further like that. And that is the arch into hang. So because both of those movements are considered isometric strength movements, you are looking for, you know, the goal would be that you can do holds with those movements, that you hold them for a certain period of time. But so you're going to use the ultimate isometric strength formula that you've got access to in this program to calculate your hold times. So when you do your preparation week, you need to use that to figure out how long your maximum hold is for the movement, and then you calculate what your hold time should be for each set and how many sets you need to do using the formula. Now, a lot of you are not going to be able to hold the move at all. A lot of you, like for example with the arch into hang, you won't even be able to pull your scapula down properly into depression and get the shoulder extension, which is arms moving down like this with the retraction. It just won't happen for you properly. And if that's the case, there's absolutely no value at all in trying to hold the move when you're doing the move incorrectly. Holding an incorrect move for a long period of time, all it does is strengthen the incorrect move. Where you're going to get value from is by doing repetitions of trying to create the move properly. So that's why I got Richard to demonstrate, you know, just doing like 3-second holds where you pull yourself into the best position that you can, hold it for 3 seconds, and then, or 2 seconds if that's all you can do, and then relax, and then go again, and do that maybe 5 times in a set. You're always aiming for perfect practice, so you don't want to, if you can only do 3 or 4 reps and that's all you can do with good technique, you don't want to do another 5 or 6 reps. You're not going to get better that way. It's perfect practice makes perfect. It's not practice makes perfect. I hope that helps, guys, because it's really critical that you understand how you develop these isometric holds and how you develop this straight arm strength. Okay, now we're into the feet elevated pseudo planche lean. So pseudo means kind of, that's what the word really means, so it's a kind of planche lean. So what we're gonna do here is he's got a bench set up. The height of the bench isn't really that important, roughly maybe your own knee height, roughly shoulder height when your arms are off the ground in a push-up position, somewhere between that point is gonna be okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to set up for your planche, which means for most of you, you'll need to turn your hands out a little bit. And when Richard gets set up, what he's going to be focusing on is from head to toe is a really nice straight line. And you do that by creating a posterior pelvic tilt, which is just like what we do in the front body line, what you've been working on. So posterior pelvic tilt here, he's going to straighten his knees as much as he can, and then once he's in position, he's got enough room here for his feet to come forward. He's going to drag his body forward, depressing his scapula, and then when he's in that good position, he's going to protract the scapula, locking the knees out, keeping the posterior pelvic tilt. And what we're looking for here is scapular depression and protraction. You can see he's got beautiful protraction, which means do the wrong thing, let your scapula come in, Richie. That's completely incorrect. Do not let your, so see how he's protracting there, and then let your shoulders elevate now. And that's wrong as well, so that's elevation. So depression, thanks Richie, it's quite hard, so if you push yourself to your limits, to be able to do about 20 seconds is going to be really tough. So you can see depression and protraction are what we're looking for. Of course the elbows are completely straight. Head to toe is in a straight line. You do that by creating the posterior pelvic tilt, so sucking the stomach in, pushing the hips forward and tensing the glutes, and lock the knees out. Keep the knees really, really straight. And that is the feet elevated pseudo planche lean. Now we are onto the eccentric single arm SCAP pull-ins, and this is really starting to get quite difficult. So Richie, let's demonstrate a couple. Eccentric means we're only working on the way down. So both arms on the bar, he's going to pull up into a SCAP pull-in, let go with one hand, keep the SCAP depressed, and now he's going to lower down. Good. He's doing it really slow and controlled to exaggerate. For most of you, you're just going to be come up, arm off, and then down slowly. Good. The slower you can go down, the better. Let's do a 5-second eccentric, Richie. So watch this. He's going to let go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then at that 0 count, he's down the bottom. The goal is actually to do a 10-second eccentric. That's what you're working towards. Whenever you do eccentric reps, we're working towards a 10-second eccentric, because once you can do about 3 10-second eccentrics, that's going to equal 1 rep. And what we're working towards, have a go, Richie, of just a full rep. Just do a full rep. We're working towards single arm SCAP pull-ins like that. That's the next step that's coming. And that is very hard. It takes a lot of work to be able to do that. So what you're looking for here when you do this, let's go again for the eccentric one. When you get to the top, we're going to depress and retract the scapula, okay? Then he's gonna let go and try to keep that depression and retraction as he slowly goes down, and then release. Grab on with the hand again. Rich is tall enough that his feet can easily touch the ground here, but if you can't do that, what you'll do is you'll pull up with your arms and then let go with one arm and then down slowly. Yeah? So not a lot to it in the sense of if you understand the definition of scapular depression and scapular retraction, because really it's just scapular retraction and scapular depression with a bit of retraction. But the practicality of actually doing it, it's very, very challenging. It's a really big step from the scapular pull-ins to the finger-assisted scapular pull-ins to the eccentric ones. Now, as we get through these programs, now that we're in phase 3, you really need to start being smart about your programming. And this is something that will help you, of course, online. If you've got questions, just ask them in the Movement Mastermind. But what I mean is about being smart, I mean just because you're onto the phase 3 program, it doesn't mean you do every exercise in the phase 3 program. You're going to progress faster in some movements than you will at others. Some other people in the Movement Mastermind will progress way faster than you at some movements, but you'll progress faster than them at others. And what you need to do is you need to choose the progression that's right for you. So what I mean by that is, I'm saying that for this exercise because in all honesty, this is one of the ones that I think very, very few people are actually legitimately going to be ready for. But rather than writing a program where we just say, repeat the same exercise multiple times like we did for the front body line and back body line, which there's a very good reason for that, which I'll tell you in a minute. Rather than do that, we are showing you the next exercise that you would do in order. But if you are really struggling with the finger-assisted SCAP pull-ins, and when you try and do these eccentric ones, if you let go of the bar and you just drop and you can't control your eccentric descent for at least 3 seconds, then you're not ready for it, and you need to continue to work on the single arm, the finger-assisted ones where you progressively move from 3 fingers to 2 fingers to 1 finger. And yeah, once you're ready, of course you can do it. So with the front body line and back body line, the reason why we do repeat it for the first 3 programs is because in our experience, there's no one that's ready in less than that time to move from the core exercises into the hand balancing. So I hope that makes sense. And that is the eccentric single arm SCAP pull-ins. All right, welcome to your phase 3 progression for the L-sit. This is where it's starting to get pretty challenging now. Richard's going to demonstrate. Basically, when you do the L-sit, you just need to bring your feet to level with the ground, so parallel with the legs, fully depressing the shoulders with no protraction or retraction. Nothing too complicated about that. Jump off, Richard. Have a look if you go down on the ground, so we'll just get rid of the parallettes. So this is obviously what you're aiming for, but this is way harder, and it really depends on the length of your spine versus the length of your arms, how easy this is going to be. Just turn your hands back, so we'll demonstrate it that way. So we want to get used to having our hands pointing backs, because that's going to progress towards a manner. There we go. Beautiful, beautiful L-sit there. You can see his shoulders are depressed and not protracting too much and not retracting. Yeah. Took him a few wobbles to get right, but you can see he's easily got the strength there to do that. Now, the keys with the L-sit really, just like the last progressions, it's just about depressing your shoulders and no protraction or retraction. So the only difference here is by having both legs out in front as opposed to the single leg L-sit, there's more leverage, more of a mechanical disadvantage. Now what we're going to do is teach you how to do compression strength. Compression strength is literally the ability to be able to compress your chest and knees together, and it's critical for a lot of gymnastics work later on, and as we use some of these gymnastics moves like the press to handstand, you're going to need to know this. So the first thing we're going to do is Richard's going to do a hamstring stretch. So he's going to pull his toes back and he's going to grab onto his toes like that. If you want to increase the stretch, what you can do is actually grab with your hands around the side of the feet, bring the feet together and turn the toes out, pull back as hard as you can. So pull your hands back, Richie, that's it. And yeah, that's getting a wicked hamstring stretch there for Richard. Now if you want to make it even more intense, put this down here, and what this does is, now what I want you to do when you grab on, forcefully pull the toes back as hard as you can. You're feeling that more in the calves now? Yeah, it's full on. That gets in the calves, back of the knees and the hamstrings. You're going to hold that for 30 seconds. Once you've finished, you will rest for 10 seconds and then you're going to reach forward as far as you can go. As a beginner, you put your fingers on the ground like this. More advanced, you put your palms on the ground. And Richard, just do a couple of reps for us. What he's doing here, just relax now. So you don't have many reps to do with this because of how much it fatigues you. You're trying to tense the quads as hard as you can, and then you're not thinking about lifting the toes off the ground. What you're thinking of doing is lifting your knees towards your chest. When you think of lifting your knees to your chest, that's going to help you to not lean back. If you just think of lifting your toes off the ground, often people lean back, which is what we don't want. So just do a couple more reps, Richie. Knees up to the chest, awesome, okay. And you want to aim for probably 10 reps like that. So what you want to do is, at this level with the L-sit, you want to be doing a 50-50 work time with the L-sit and the compression strength. So you do one set of L-sit, one set of compression strength, like that for that part of the workout. And that is the L-sit. Now we're on to the bilateral prone dumbbell trap 3 raise. So bilateral meaning we're using both arms together now. Prone, we're laying on the stomach, and trap 3 raise is the description of the exercise. So let's have a go, Richie. Okay, retracting and depressing, raising up at a 30-degree angle, holding it for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. It's actually a 6-second hold, but I just counted 5 because I missed the first count. And again, retraction and depression, elbows completely straight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, relax. Even with 3 kilos, I can tell that that is a struggle for Richard, and if he did several reps, he'd really be in the hurt locker. So be very, very strict with yourself with how much weight you're choosing. Besides that, the movement is exactly the same as the other trap 3 raises we've done. So we're looking for depression and retraction. So the scapula is basically pulled down into the opposite back pocket. So this scapula is pulling down to the left back pocket, the left scapula is pulling down to the right back pocket, elbows completely straight, raise up. You want to try and go, Richie? You want to try and get the arm to come to level with the ear, elbows completely straight. And one last thing, you can also try to externally rotate the dumbbells as well at the top. And each rep, hold for 6 seconds. Besides that, it's exactly the same as the last trap 3 raises. We're just doing it with 2 arms together. And that is the bilateral dumbbell prone trap 3 raise.
All right, everybody, now we are into the behind the back pullovers. So Richie's going to grab a dowel rod with a little bit of a weight on the middle like this. The amount of weight that you use is going to be completely dependent on your own strength and skill. Now from here, he's going to retract his shoulders. So just relax, turn this way, Richie, and turn this way and have a look. So he's going to fully retract the scapula. Then he's going to pull up to the first position. Hold for 3, 2, 1. Now he's going to pull over to the second position, fully forcing that retraction for 3, 2, 1. And now he comes back to the exact same first position for 3, 2, 1. And then he relaxes, and that is 1 rep. Let's look from side on. So there's not that much going on here as long as he retracts, goes into full extension, 3, 2, 1, all the way over. In this position here, it allows the weight to pull you into a further extension position. And then come back to the first position for 3, 2, 1, relax. And on the 10th rep, you're actually going, sorry, not the 10th rep, the final rep, you're going to hold each position for 10 seconds. So the amount of reps you do is going to be completely up to your own strength. You want to be aiming for somewhere between about 8 and 15 repetitions. So you choose a weight that you can do about 8 reps on, and then you're going to work up to being able to do 15 reps with that same weight. So that's how you're going to increase volume each week. Once you can do 15 reps, you're going to up the weight and you'll drop back down to that 8 to 10 rep range, and then you'll work back up to 15. On the final rep, each position is held for 10 seconds, and that is the behind the back pullovers with a dowel rod. Oh, one last thing. Let's look at the hand position. So we're going to go pronated like this. Okay, so this is called a pronated hand position. If Richard turned his hands around, that would be a supinated hand position, but we're going to do pronated for this one. And that is the behind the back pullovers with a dowel rod.
All right, now we're on to the
Coffee, kale, nail, chair.
steps like what Richie's doing there. And you actually get bonus points for this one if you do this. It's the crab walk. This is...